Hey everybody, this is So Many Sequels. I'm Josh.
I'm Garrett.
And I'm David.
Welcome to the show. It's a brand new month. Are we
is.
excited for April
Oh my
showers
God.
to bring May flowers?
Yeah, and you
Sure.
know what May flowers bring?
June.
Pilgrims.
John Wick June. Oh. Wait, why pilgrims? Oh,
No,
Mayflower.
No, you get it? Mayflower brings pilgrims.
I like mine.
You know, hey, I don't know what June holds for us. It's a ways off. Remember we talked about Kai June?
Right.
Which might dovetail into a movie you saw this week, Josh.
That's true. It's very true. Yeah. As always, I want to kick off the show just kind of catching up on what we've been watching this week or what's been going on in our worlds. I watched a couple new movies, so I'll go ahead and start because I know Garrett's got a classic to talk about. First,
Oh, yeah.
let me talk about this experience I had where they do this at AMC and at Warren, or Regal, but I went to Regal for this one. And it's a mystery movie. They do it on Monday nights. You pay $5 for the ticket, but you don't know what the movie is until it starts playing. And it's always a movie that is coming out relatively soon. And this past week, it was a movie called Sting. I had never heard of it. It was not anywhere on my radar to be coming out. And it is a Australian creature feature horror movie about a space alien spider who crash lands on Earth, becomes the pet of a young girl, and then grows beyond her control and starts to try to eat people. So that's that's how my week started. Questions?
Did you stay for the whole movie?
Yeah. It was, it was short too, which is good for that kind of movie.
Oh, I
Key.
appreciate it.
That's got to be key.
Yeah.
How many people were there?
You know what? It was a pretty decent crowd.
What was the crowd reaction? Like, were they involved? Did they verbalize their pleasure,
there was some
displeasure?
laughter that I think was like well intended, because it has some moments where it's like, oh, this is like, this is so bad I'm laughing, but I'm enjoying it laughing. You know what I mean? It's that kind of movie.
Okay.
It's
Right.
not like, Garrett, you'll know this one. Megan very much leaned into how ridiculous it was. This one could have done that better. So
Should
itself
try to take
slightly
yourself
too
too seriously. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, that's a problem. That can be a problem. That doesn't sound like a movie that should be taken seriously. Especially, you said it stars Superior Donuts, James Fowler.
Yeah, Jermaine Fowler. Yes.
And so
yes.
for those two people, which is Josh and myself, who remember that show,
I did. I was like, I recognize him from somewhere, and then when the credits
you had
finally
to
rolled at the end-
IMDb it, didn't you? You had to look it up.
Yeah. So
100%.
exactly, his name rolled in the credits, and I was like, yes, Jermaine Fowler. I know who that is. But then I had to figure out from where. So that was fun. And then I guess I had a theme this week unintentionally, because I went to see the new Godzilla Kong New Empire movie, which has had a very interesting response, I have to say. I went in blind because I didn't even know it came out, honestly. It was so far off my radar. And I just looked at the showtimes because I was bored, and I was like, oh, look, this is showing very soon. Let's go try it. And it's certainly not the best Godzilla movie to come out over the past year, because that would be Godzilla -1.
Sure.
But it has fun moments. Here's the Rotten Tomatoes breakdown for you guys. Critics 55, audience 92. They love it.
Oh boy,
They love it,
I love it.
and it's
Now,
because
how does that?
from what I can gather,
How does that compare?
because I listened to another podcast reviewing the movie, and from what I can gather, it seems like people, what they don't like about the other movies is that there's too much humans just talking and not enough monsters fighting. So this movie is almost nothing but monsters fighting, to the point where there's, to me, I thought there was very little dialogue. It's just monsters fighting for 2 hours. And that's what they wanted.
That's what we claimed we wanted.
And that's what they got. And they got a 92 on
Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes. So and an $80 million opening weekend, which was above
people have spoken.
expectations.
How did it compare? Because we reviewed Godzilla versus Kong a few years ago for the pod. How does it compare to you in that respect?
You know, I have to go a little bit closer to the critics because as much as I did like watching the kaiju fights on the IMAX screen, I do eventually get bored with it, and there was a little too... It's like they overcorrected for me. Maybe that was enough for the audience, but for me, I needed a little less of that. So they still needed a sweet spot, and they didn't quite hit it. But hey, I'm glad it works. Go to the movies. Watch the fight. Watch them fight monsters.
What I still love about it, and just having not seen it,
Yeah.
is that Garrett, and we were far from the only people to make this suggestion or make this call. Garrett, we were right about the tag team nature of the follow up of Godzilla and Kong working together.
Yeah.
That seemed like the natural evolution of the thing.
I mean, if this, I have no doubt that this is taking its storylines from early 2000s WWE, following that story arc, and if there is a fourth, these two will be fighting again. You just be careful. They'll start off still on the same page, but something will rift them apart.
Yes, well, I mean, can they coexist? That's the storyline. Can I mean, but where do they go from here? Steel cage or
Adam Cole, MJF.
What I've heard other people say is they want Godzilla x Kong in space, and that is the only destination. That's the final frontier. That's the only place they can go from here. So let's get it. Let's hopefully it's done well with the audiences. Done well so far financially. We'll see how it carries on.
I had to double check.
Guess
There
what we want.
are only 2 actors from the last movie who returned for this one.
Is it Brian Tyree Henry?
He's one of them, yeah.
I like that guy.
This is a weird franchise where like every movie almost has an entirely different cast.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
It's a far cry from the Godzilla that came out in 2014. I want to feel like
Right.
the Gareth Edwards one. Is that who made 2014's Godzilla? The one that started this whole thing.
Right. Yes, that's the one that started this particular MonsterVerse. And then Skull Island's really the only one with an exception because it was set in 1973. Everything else was set in present day, I think.
I think so.
Give or take. So I don't know. Anyway, Godzilla Kong, The New Empire. Go check it out if you want to watch monsters fight. If you're looking for something closer to Godzilla -1 that will like move you as a film, probably not this. Probably not.
Yeah, go watch The Sting or Sting.
Or Sting, yeah.
Or watch 1973's The Sting. That's better.
What about you guys? Garrett, you deep dove into a classic this week, didn't you?
Yeah, man, I was just looking for something to watch. Sometimes you just need to watch a movie that you've seen a few times that you need to see something in the background, right? And then it takes over. And that's what this one did. We went back and watched Tombstone with, let me tell you what, the A-list cast is A-list. The B-list cast is A-list. The C-list cast, A-list at this point in time. I mean, this movie goes from Val Kilmer and Kurt Russell all the way down to like Thomas Hayden Church, Michael Rooker, Billy Bob Thornton. It is just banger after banger after banger. And it is so enjoyable that it just sucks you in. I turned it on, I was like, Tombstone, great movie. I know this is a great movie. I can respect this movie. I can tune in, tune out, and then I didn't tune out. I just watched it. It was so much fun.
I've not seen it personally, but I've heard a lot of great things about it. It's one of those ones I need to check off.
I can't believe that. I feel like you would like it. I mean, I don't know. I feel for some reason I believe that you would like westerns in general, but
I do.
Yeah, so
yeah, he does. But also, I just am stunned. It seems so much up your alley that I almost don't believe you.
Yeah,
I
same.
mean, I've seen bits and pieces. I've seen clips. I know generally what happens. I'm your Huckleberry, all that nonsense.
I'll be your Huckleberry. Oh yes.
Well, is that the one where Powers Booth is like, well,
yes,
bye.
Powers Booth smoking all kinds of opium and stuff, all
Dude.
crazy mess.
That's why
so
I know.
Good.
That's why I know I'm gonna love it. Is because you put Powers Booth in anything, that's a David movie.
It is truly
So-
just a wonderful performance from everyone.
But
it's so
just one of
good.
those things for me where like just the fates have never aligned. Like my parents didn't have it at home, and not for any particular reason, they just didn't have it at home. And then I never, ran across it at a Blockbuster or whatever.
Yeah.
It never seemed to be streaming when I wanted it to be streaming.
Well, let me
So-
tell you what, it's on Hulu right now, so go watch it.
It's on my list. I've this last year I created my what I call my midlife crisis western list, and I had a pretty great August last year, just crossing off westerns: 310 to Yuma, The Magnificent Seven, Hell or High Water, a whole bunch of other good ones, classic and modern. So and it's on the list. I want to do it. You got to cross it
Josh,
off.
you like Tombstone?
I do. It's been a real long time since I watched Tombstone, so now you got me tempted to revisit it for the exact
Turn
same
it on, you
reason.
won't be
I'm pretty
disappointed.
positive that I will still like it. It's like, you said it's on Hulu? Maybe I need to do that ASAP.
Yeah, it's on Hulu.
It's the
man.
combination of my two comfort things, which is westerns and cool guys.
Yeah.
Like that's like I like cool guys doing cool crimes, and I like westerns. So
Cool guys doing cool crimes. I do feel
There's
like
this-
I need to
I don't-
watch it on.
Go ahead.
I do feel like I need to watch it on Hulu on Disney Plus, though.
Oh yeah.
A little extra.
There's a moment. I don't want to ruin everything, but there's a moment where Billy Bob Thornton's in it, and he had been, for lack of a better word, punked a little earlier, and he was out looking for some revenge, and he goes through this whole thing where he's about to get this revenge, and the way that the scene develops, and how they shot it, where you see Billy Bob Thornton's character just totally washed out. Man, again, if you've seen the movie, you know the scene I'm talking about. I don't want to spoil it for David, but it is so funny, especially
do it
because
tonight.
Billy Bob Thornton is just such a good actor. Like it is so funny.
You want to do it
I
tonight?
might do it tonight. I have a late start tomorrow, so I might do it tonight.
Do it.
That makes me tempted to start tonight. We'll see. Before we wrap up this section, there was a piece of movie news that I thought that at least David needed to comment on, and that is that after a long time of trying to figure out what's going on with this franchise, Pirates of the Caribbean is getting a reboot confirmed from producer Jerry Bruckheimer. Of course, it hasn't been announced by the studio or anything, but that's as good as a confirmation as anyone's gotten. And he's saying it will be a reboot. We don't know what that means, but not a sequel.
No, starting from scratch.
Yeah,
baby.
so what do you think? Because I consider you the resident Pirates fan expert.
I would consider myself. I love Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
The first one, the second one, the third one, fourth and fifth ones are not that great, but still, I think that there's still something they can do there. I think it's such a genre that only exists for that franchise. Like nobody else is making movies about pirates, really. So the opportunity's there. Now, personally, I'd love them to just take like a 20, 30-year break. I think that while there's still stuff you can do, the stink is too fresh off of the most recent film they did. So if it's got to be done, my personal take would be that there is a character that they have built up in the parks, this character Red, who started off, it was this animatronic that started off as a part of this sort of slave trade scene in the ride, where the pirates were like, auctioning off people and goats and animals and whatever, right? They're just auctioning off things, and but people, in modern sensibilities, people were like, that's kind of effed up. Can we not do that? And so now Red became one of the pirates, and they're still auctioning off stuff, but it's more like animals and rum and, foodstuffs and stuff. So now Red's a pirate, and they've turned that character, they've completely taken it and reimagined it into this whole thing. And there's merch for her at the parks. There's a character meet you can do with Red the pirate. So like, they've laid the groundwork for a character they can adapt for the movies, which they didn't do the first time. There was no Jack Sparrow before the movies came out. There was no Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann. Those things didn't exist. So they've kind of got something they can actually bring from the park to the movies if they wanted to do that. Personally, if David has his way, it would be like Karen Gillan would play that role. I don't feel like she's probably a big enough name, so they're probably going to court someone like a Margot Robbie or a Scarlett Johansson or whoever they can get. But that'd be my pick. And also, I would put her in a similar role as like a Jack Sparrow. I would say don't pin the whole movie on her as main character, because that's what I think a lot of people forget about those first Pirates movies is like Elizabeth Swann and Will Turner are the main characters. It's not Jack floats in to their lives. So anyway, I would love it if they take a long break. That's kind of my biggest thing is like I think a lot of franchises need to take a good long break, but
Wait, what do you?
in lieu of that, here's my suggestion.
What do you think, Garrett? You into new Pirates? You ready for a pirate? A Pirate's Life?
I feel like I gave up on them after the third one, and they have yet to court me back. So until they give me a reason, I'd rather have another Pirates franchise.
That okay? I'm in the middle here because I would also prefer. My first reaction was, what if you just made pirates cool again? Without, like, could it just be something new, a new pirate story versus rebooting?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also really like the first couple Pirates movies.
Yeah.
And
First two
I
for
always
sure.
have
The third
hope
one was like,
for the
all
first
right.
couple.
And then the fourth one was like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. I forget where I fell off, but definitely never saw the last one. Anyway, that's the news of the week. If you're watching or if you're listening to the show via podcast through Apple Podcasts, be sure to leave us a review. That helps us out a lot. Good rating and review there in your podcast app. And if you're watching us on YouTube and you like what you've seen so far, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. You can also catch our movie reviews dropping on our channel every week. And if you subscribe, we're getting closer and closer to our next goal. We just hit our most recent goal. If you listen to our last episode of 121, now we've got our next goal of 137. Why? None of your business, but it's 137 now. So subscribe if you haven't done so yet. And we'll see you guys soon.